All right. Now, after some technical delays, you can tell I don't stream very often. We now have audio. Oh man, I have no idea why that did not want to work properly, but got it working now, I think. From what I can see, it's working. So, hello and welcome to A Slice of Pie Live. Guess one of the downsides of doing a show like this live is you are bound to make mistakes live. So, thank you, by the way, to the person in the chat who did tell me that the audio wasn't working. I do appreciate that greatly. So, let's actually kind of, reiterate what I wasn't able to tell you guys directly because the mic wasn't working for some unknown reason. I got it working now. So, let's go ahead and talk about it really quickly. So last week, I essentially edited and was ready to post an episode of Slice of Pie, and it had become outdated by the time I was ready to post it. So this is actually a really sucky thing about doing that nature of a show is you sometimes have to reduce how much you do, how much you say, because there's a chance that by the time you're done editing, it becomes irrelevant. And unfortunately, like I had that happen a couple different times with Slice of Pie. And I was like, you know, there doesn't really seem to be a good solution to this in this format. Another problem that I found in it is I wasn't really able to drill into some of the topics that I wanted to talk about. Like I could ramble for like 30 minutes about one topic and then only show you guys like 3 minutes of it because of the fact that time was just not something that I had. It wasn't something that I could use. So unfortunately, like it was one of those things where I wasn't really happy with the show in its current format. And I really wanted to see like if you guys would even like a longer form discussion, because now you guys can actually chat with me. You can type in the chat. I have it off on this other screen. I'm trying to like actually get this set up in a legitimate way. I've got 2 computers going. One of them's recording it. Lights, everything is just, yeah, it's definitely different than what I normally do. I have streamed in the past on this channel, but like mostly gameplay streams. I've never done anything of this nature. And I already have things that I want to do to make it better for you guys. So honestly, I appreciate anybody who's watching right now. And that one person, you're awesome. There's like 3 playbacks on here, so it might be just like a couple, 2 people. You guys are awesome. So thank you. So let's actually kind of talk about like what we've been working on and all that sort of stuff. The part of this is more of like an update for the channel. So for one, I actually have a new PC build that is completed. It is officially done. And it will be on the channel probably in the next 2 weeks because I actually have a lot of content. I've got content about this, which we're going to discuss a little bit later. I think you probably saw the Krakens with the cat ears. There's also these over here that we're doing a video on. So, and then also like the whole setting up a streaming thing. Although this looks horrendous compared to the actual video. There's that video coming as well. And then also you guys have been requesting an update on Snecky. I have a video for that as well. So I have a lot of things in the works. And then I'm also considering doing a gaming PC you can actually build right now video that doesn't include a graphics card. But then it's more like a gaming PC that you can build and buy right now, but also can upgrade later. So those are kind of like the things that I'm working on. I'm also trying to procure parts for Supernova's upgrade. I do want to upgrade my 5700 XT, which is the main thing that's been keeping me from doing that build. And yeah, so we're actually going to talk, that's going to be our first topic of the day, is actually going to be all about GPUs. So let's, I guess, get into that and into that discussion right now. AMD launched the 6700 XT, And the launch was just about as bad as we would have expected. It sold out instantly, crashed AMD's website, and Newegg didn't even actually put any of them for sale on the website. They actually put them all into Newegg Shuffle. Now, as weird as it sounds, I actually kind of like that. The fact that they put it into Newegg Shuffle meant that bots and scalpers weren't able to just scoop them all up instantly. But I didn't win. I did enter for it. So overall, like, really there wasn't as much as was necessary to really move the needle at all when it comes to the actual supply shortages on the GPUs. But from what I'm hearing, they're getting more of them. The retailers are getting more of them than they got of the other AMD processors and GPUs. So some hope is there that we're actually going to see more products soon. That being said, the benchmarks for it are kind of just like, it's okay. If you can get it at MSRP, it's good, but you could buy a 3070 for only like a little bit more. And at that point, it's better to get the 3070 because it doesn't really ever edge out the 3070, but it does compete. And sometimes it's all the way down to like the 3060 Ti. And I do kind of want to point out a couple of things. When watching the reviews, I did notice a pretty wide gap in where people were talking about the performance of this thing. One of the things that kind of bugged me a little bit, it rubbed me the wrong way, was that some reviewers used smart access memory and were like, I'm using all the features. And then some of them didn't. And then those same ones who didn't use it still spoke about DLSS. Like, to me, that seems a little suspect. Now, and I'm not the only one. I did see on a tweet that Linus put out about the shortages, it was really just the Linus Media Group, but on a tweet that they put out, someone pointed out like, hey, like in your review, you didn't use this, but you did use this. And I do find it a little suspect that like DLSS is talked about like, oh, it's a turn on must use feature. And then smart access memory is like, And it's especially weird because now you can actually use smart access memory on a lot more processors than just the 5000 series processors. You can actually use them on the 3000 series processors, which I have at least 2 of that are ready to use smart access memory. So it's like, where is the line drawn? Why is DLSS being used in comparison as opposed to smart access memory and vice versa? It's one of those things that's just kind of like a little confusing to me. But I'm sure once I get a GPU that actually has it, I can see more clearly where everything lies. Essentially, like the heavy hardcore benchmarkers were like, it's just meh. And then the people who just went, okay, here's the gaming GPU, let's game on it, they were more positive. So it seems to be like a middle of the road GPU, not overly exciting, but also not overly offensive, if that makes sense. It's pretty much what like the 5700 XT was. And that being said, my 5700 XT actually beats the 2070 pretty handedly in most benchmarks. But I also have mine liquid cooled and overclocked. And personally, like I know mine bumps up against the 2070 Super a little bit. But that being said, it's pretty much the exact performance that I would have expected from this GPU. So I'm really not too beat up about it. And the other thing though that was really interesting about it in a kind of bad way was the MSRP of the cards was like completely ignored across the board. So one of the things that I found very, very interesting was that aside from AMD, I think it was just them, Sapphire, and somebody else, XFX. They all had MSRP cards. Outside of that, like MSI, I was looking at like $550. Asus, I was looking at like $600 or $700. And that's just insane. Like being $100, $200, $300 over MSRP, and that being the MSRP of that card is just absolutely nuts. And personally, it bugs me a little bit because these cards are going to be at that price for a while longer. Even after stock replenishes, those cards are going to stay at that price probably until the end of the generation when they start to phase out those cards. And to me, that seems like a pretty bad situation to be in. So honestly, I'm fascinated by a lot of what's going on with Big Navi, but I'm also kind of terrified at the idea that like in the near future, we're going to be dealing with GPU prices that could be wildly different than what the manufacturers intend for them to be. And I know that seems like a weird thing to be worried about, but imagine if NVIDIA says, hey, this GPU, we'll say it's a 5 series, so like a 3050 is supposed to be $100, and Asus goes, nah, this is a $600 card. We're going to have to pay that $600, even though it's not worth it in any stretch of the imagination. And to me, that is somehow worse than the scalping right now. Because although the scalpers are doing their thing and they are marking them up, those prices are temporary. But what MSI or Asus sets their GPUs at is pretty permanent until like Newegg can put them on sale for lower prices. And that doesn't happen when the demand is just wildly like exceeding the supply. So it's one of those things that I personally am looking out at. I'm a little worried about how that's going to play out. And personally, I just hope that we don't end up in a situation where prices mean absolutely nothing. So that was the 6700 XT launch. Let's actually talk about our next topic, AMD refusing to add miner limiters. So AMD has come out on the record and said that the Big Navi cards are not getting any mining limiters at all, unlike NVIDIA. And their reasoning actually makes a lot of sense. It actually echoes a lot of what Linus said about how mining limiters will eventually be overcome, which NVIDIA screwed up. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But mining limiters don't normally really work. And for the most part, like separating your lines between mining and non-mining versions only create cards that are unfortunately going to be e-waste at some point. And to AMD's credit, they actually did pretty much distinguish. There's a difference between RDNA and CDNA. CDNA is a compute type architecture. They are used in AMD Fire series, I think is what they're called. They already exist. They've been out for a little while now, actually. And the RDNA cards are for gaming. And the RDNA cards aren't really as good as the CDNA cards at compute applications, such as rendering. In fact, actually, for the first time in a long time, AMD has been worse than NVIDIA at compute applications. And that's normally an AMD stronghold, but they intentionally haven't been so that they could get better gaming performance, which to me personally, I do like that approach where a gaming GPU is for gaming and a compute card is for compute. So I know some people have confused some CDNA cards as mining cards, but they were already a thing. But going back to the mining limiters a little bit, NVIDIA already broke their mining limiter. Like NVIDIA themselves, not anybody, any one person. Now, the NVIDIA mining limiter really only affected Ethereum, the most popular coin right now. But NVIDIA released a beta driver that just didn't have it in there. And it's a really bad thing to do, especially to a group that is currently trying to hack your driver. You give them a solution that works without it, they know it exists, and they will create it. Now, currently, you have to be in the beta program, which I think even I'm in it, to be completely honest. I think I entered it when I used some NVIDIA tools when I was doing game development. And so it's stupidly easy to get into the beta program. They did take the beta driver down, but I'm sure it is like circulating like wildfire right now, being reverse engineered, and people are figuring it out. So it's only a matter of time now that NVIDIA's own actions will have broken their driver a little bit faster. Also, the fact that it's possible in the first place, even though NVIDIA said it wasn't, is kind of a screw up on them. Like if they hadn't done this, like there would be that doubt, right? Like hacking and software modification is all about believing you can do something and it being possible. Like, so a good example is modding, is as close as I actually come to this topic in general. But like creating mods for a game, it's like a matter of what can I do in the engine, like what can I tweak and what's hard locked down. So one of the things that has made Fallout and Skyrim such a big deal is that to mod them, you can do just about anything. Like nothing's locked down, and that's why you see some of the most impressive stuff coming out of those games when it comes from the modding community, as opposed to some other ones out there that do exist. But still, going back to the topic at hand, if you know something is possible, you will work harder to figure it out as opposed to putting in effort for something that might not be there. Now, financially, they are incentivized to get around it, but at the same time, like you have to like wonder like what's going through their head when NVIDIA says this thing is impossible and then it's proven possible. That being said, there are other limiting factors, like for example, only one RTX 3060 can be in a system at a time. So that does prevent some mining rigs from existing, but they'll get around it. And more importantly, Linux seems to be more the distro that they're using instead of Windows. And while Linux drivers for NVIDIA cards are not common, it is something that I'm sure that they are working towards. Okay, so that was mining. We talked about the GPU stuff. Let's talk about Zen 3. So Zen 3 is coming out. This is a new server processor from AMD. And the thing that actually makes this interesting is it's already faster than Intel's offerings. But a lot of businesses have come out to say that they are going to start using Zen 3 in their servers. So we have Amazon with AWS saying that they're going to be deploying them. HP is going to be deploying them. Dell is going to be deploying them, and many others, which is very fascinating to see that AMD is taking over the server market, much like they have in the desktop consumer market. And it's fascinating to watch. Now, what happens with Zen often comes to Threadripper, and these are some of the fastest clocks we've ever seen on a server chip. Like, these are impressive clock speeds. It's coming up against the current line of Threadripper processors, so it make me wonder, are the next Threadripper processors actually going to be even higher clocked than this? Which is a possibility. That being said, super exciting to see this stuff, because like whatever happens in the server world eventually comes to consumers, unless it has absolutely no market here. And just seeing all of the PCIe lanes that they're running, that's going to make its way into Threadripper, and then what happens on Threadripper eventually makes its way to Ryzen. So all around good stuff. I cannot wait to see what happens there. All right, and now we got another one that's actually kind of interesting. This one is more YouTube focused. Hardware Unboxed, a fellow YouTuber and much bigger channel than my own, has actually found some pretty interesting discrepancies when using NVIDIA and AMD GPUs in lower end systems. So they tested the driver overhead in a wide array of systems and found that anything below a Ryzen 5, I think first gen is what they came to, really benefits from having an AMD processor in it, or not processor, an AMD GPU in it, because the overhead is apparently that much lower. Now, that being said, I kind of have known about this since we did the driver video about AMD drivers, that essentially AMD's drivers work a weird way compared to NVIDIA's. NVIDIA's hit the CPU exclusively. It's a program, it runs on the CPU. AMD's somehow leverage the GPU, and I'm not 100% sure how they do it, but GPU crashes crash the whole driver, which doesn't happen with NVIDIA. If you actually overclock your GPU to the point of it crashing, you can actually recover immediately after. That's one of the reasons why it was such a frustrating problem for so many people, is when the GPU crashed, like it shut things down and you had to reload them. So I do know that the drivers themselves are hard baked into the GPUs, and I'm not 100% sure how they're doing it, but that's probably where a lot of that overhead comes from that makes it more compatible with low-end systems is because some of that's just being offloaded. I mean, even like some of my older AMD GPUs, I got like an R7 2700 or 3700, I don't remember what it is, running in this PC that's actually doing the stream right now. It's still doing an amazing job. But at the same time, like, the question is like, how long can this be supported by these drivers? And it seems that they've been doing this for just so long that like anything above, like ever since they absorbed ATI, I think, runs the same drivers. So yeah, it's just fascinating how essentially because they've got all of this like age under it and because they're using a slightly different technique, AMD is able to actually eke out additional frames over NVIDIA with low-end hardware. In fact, in some of the most extremes, the 5700 XT could actually outdo the 3090, which is absolutely insane. That sentence is not one that I thought I'd be saying at all. Like I love the 5700 XT. I did not think that it would ever be able to get into a situation where it could compete with a 3090. So yeah, I guess it's kind of like that fine wine effect that people have been talking about with AMD for so long. Okay. So we've talked about all that. I guess let's actually switch off of the AMD stuff then. And for 2 viewers, I'm so excited for the RTX studies. The RX 7700. well, thank you, John. I do appreciate that. So, let's see here. We were going to man, this is the difference between streaming and recording this. I normally cut out me losing my place. All right, Intel teasing their new GPU. Okay, so Intel is currently trying to get the marketing train going on their new GPUs. They did this by hiding a little bit of binary in their latest ad. The binary led to a address that they then now have a thing that says that on March 22nd, the hunt begins. This is an invitation for some sort of a scavenger hunt that will probably lead into the launch of the XE graphics cards. To be completely honest, though, I'm actually excited about this. Not because I think that the XE graphics cards are going to be great, but because I think they're going to probably alleviate some of the headache in the GPU market. By having 3 major competitors in this space, we should hopefully start to see GPUs on the shelves. Intel does make their own silicon, which means they are unaffected by TSMC, that who is more or less going to be bogged down for the next year. So we might actually see Intel GPUs rather soon, and they might even be available, which I would kind of be excited for. Personally, I don't think I'm going to be buying an Intel GPU unless it comes out that they are absolutely amazing. But because I still have, all AMD systems, I highly doubt that the Intel specific features of those GPUs are going to work on it. Yeah, it would be a beta test, to be completely honest. Like, I have no belief that these GPUs are going to go out flawless. I think personally that they're going to be a lot like the Vega GPUs were for AMD, because like the same people are behind them. So yeah, that's what's coming out on that side. And NVIDIA is apparently getting ready to launch the 3080 and the 3070 Ti. Now this is a rumor that has persisted, well, for a couple weeks now, and I've been ignoring it because I'm like, there's no way NVIDIA would be dumb enough to launch a GPU now. Like, there's no way, because they're already making money. How are they going to get an even better die out that they can cash out on right now? And so with that, I honestly, like, I threw out the story several times, but I've heard about it again, and I'm like, I guess it's possible. Supposedly they're going to have mining limiters built into them, I'm not 100% sure that's going to work, especially because they've already broke their own 3060 drivers. So, yeah. Um, Either way, I'm interested to see if they actually are crazy enough to do it. And if they do it, how much are they going to cost? And is it going to do anything to the GPU market except for add another expensive GPU to the market that we would not be able to buy? Okay, so let's see. Um, all right, moving right along. I think that's pretty much all of the major hardware news. Let's actually talk about some smaller things. So there's this case. I'm gonna have to actually get that pulled up on this really quickly for you guys to see. Um, Essentially, it's what I would have wanted the H10 to be, because this looks like the best option for making a small form factor PC that just looks great. So let me just hopefully. Oh, shoot. I just closed YouTube. Do. All right. If it will load. So this is actually a case by a subsidiary of, if I'm not mistaken, Lee and Lee, called Sup. I've seen a couple builds in this PC already, and it looks interesting to say the least. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna drop. Come on. Here we go. on here. Should have just made that a different scene, to be completely honest. All right, let's actually really quickly talk about something that we did kind of brush up on a little bit. All Ryzen 3000 series CPUs are getting smart access memory minus the APUs. So the APUs do run like Zen Plus, except for some of the new ones also run. It's very confusing with the APUs. Those are the 4000 APUs that run the Zen 2 cores. So anything that's running a Zen 2 core is getting smart access memory on X570 and B550 motherboards. That's pretty awesome because you currently can barely buy 5000 series processors. I'm actually kind of curious right now. For the last few days, you've been able to buy the 8 core on AMD's website, and I'm actually curious to see if it's still there. It will be the first time that that processor has been in stock regularly. Oh, actually, oh no, that's a 3950X. Yeah, the 5800X is the only AMD 5th gen processor that or 5th generation. It's really 4th generation Ryzen processor, but it's the only Ryzen 5 that actually is in stock at all. But it's at MSRP, so I mean, you could buy it today. I personally would wait on it because it's a Ryzen 7. I personally would pay around 300 for that, not the 449. But beggars can't be choosers, right? All right, so couldn't hear you when your screen was displayed. Huh? Where can I buy the pie merch? That is a good question. So I am working on it, and I'm not ready to actually launch it yet. I ordered some samples and I didn't like the samples. So I ordered some more samples and now I have to wait for them to come. And then once I like nail it down, that will be when it is able to go to for sale. The shirt that I created myself as kind of like a proof of concept was effectively I bought like a shirt from Target through their original use line, and I used a vinyl cutter to actually create like an iron-on vinyl for it. And while I would love to do that and just sell those shirts, I'm sure Target wouldn't like it. And so I am trying to like come up with a turnkey solution. I'm currently working with Spring Tea, trying to figure it out. Their print wasn't bad. It was the shirt itself. I chose the lowest quality shirt, and I regret that. Like literally it was like a shirt from like a pack of Hanes. And while I can say, yeah, that's fine, if I'm not gonna wear it, I don't think you would either. Don't know why you're in my recommendations. I don't know either, to be completely honest. I really don't know like what's going on with this, to be completely honest. All right, so I guess that's that topic. Oh yeah, and so back to the thing at hand. We were talking about Ryzen Smart Access Memory. It requires a BIOS update. And honestly, like, it's nice that it's pretty much free. It just sucks that it's relegated only to the X570 motherboards at this point. X570 and B550, I should say. All right, so our next topic. This one's actually kind of funny. PC versus Mac commercials are back. I remember being a kid when the original PC versus Mac commercials came out. They really pushed very, very hard on the idea that Macs were for the hipsters and PCs were for the boring adults. What is your specs? Ooh, that is a good question. On which one? Because on the PC that we're streaming off of, this one's a Ryzen 730. Is this one a 3800X? I think this one was a 3800X. And then on my main actual like gaming editing PC, we actually have a Ryzen 9 in there. The Ryzen 9 3900X. I know this one's the 12 core. This one's the 8 core. Originally, the one that's being used for streaming was supposed to be my gaming PC that I was like capturing. But I couldn't get a GPU for it, and I don't want to take my liquid-cooled 5700 XT out of my main system to put it in there. And I've got like a 2700 or an R9 270, something like that. Something really, really old in there that I got over a decade ago, I think it was. And that's because that's the only thing I had laying around right now. I loaned out my 1080 to my brother, and that would have been the ideal one to put in there, but it's just not there. And then, of course, 64 gigs of RAM on the editing system, 32 on the gaming system, and one's completely liquid cooled to like everywhere. The other one's all air cooled. An unimaginable amount of drive space, lots of SSDs, tons of stuff. I actually have videos on both of them on the channel that I guess I could drop into the description later, I guess. So we can build mining farm. Trust me on this. I don't think I have any GPU that's not in use right now. Specifically like in any of the rigs that we've got going up right now. Okay. So, we were just talking about actually, you know what? Since we're talking about mining, NVIDIA did release their mining card, and apparently it sucks. Like, apparently it's like the leftover silicon from like the 20 series, and it's just abysmal for like an extremely high price. Which is kind of sad because like if they actually tried, like that card could have actually been something to offset it a little bit. Chip, and then RTX 3090 or something. So that's a good question about the M1 Mac chip thing. I don't think that the M1 Mac chips can currently use GPUs. That being said, if Apple decides that they want to implement dedicated GPUs, it's not going to be a NVIDIA thing. They apparently had a fallout with NVIDIA a while ago, and that's why, currently speaking, any Hackintosh you build has to have an AMD GPU in it. Because unfortunately, there was like some sort of a dispute between the two companies that like caused them to not work together at all. So yeah, if that answers the question. And then, oh yeah, we were actually also talking about, oh wow, there's like, my phone's blowing up now. We were also talking about the PC versus Mac commercials. Man, I am ADHD AF. This is why I edit everything. So Intel actually was the one who paid for the commercials this time around, and of course it's going to be heavier leaning towards PC. They did use the same guy in the commercials. They are somewhat cringy because like, oh look, it's the PC versus Mac commercial, just brack again. What people haven't been talking about is Microsoft released the same style of commercial. I'm not even joking. I saw it and I was like, oh no. So I'm thinking like one marketing firm is behind all of this. There's gonna be one marketing firm that's like, hey, you remember those commercials back in like the early 2000s? Let's get that energy going again. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. Personally, I think actually Apple's at their all-time high when it comes to reputation. Essentially, like when it comes down to it, the M1 Mac chips and what will come out of Apple Silicon is exciting because it makes Macs different than PCs. And that to me is exciting in itself. Even if I'm not going to ever use a Mac again, I used one for like some college work and I hated every second of it, to be honest. But even if I'm not a Mac user, the fact that Mac users are getting sort of these features and these like advancements, it's exciting to me, even if I'm not the person that it benefits. Macs and Linux machines are PCs too. I mean, yes, they're both personal computers, which is what PC stands for, but usually because nobody wants to call them Windows boxes or Windows PCs. Shorthand is just calling it a PC and calling a Mac, even though, I mean, really, Apple started that, didn't they? The Mac versus PC commercials were like, oh, this is a Mac, this is a PC, even though both of them are personal computers. I mean, hypothetically, under that argument, you could say that your phone's a personal computer. I mean, it's personal. It's a handheld, but it's a computer. All right. And it is really easy to derail topics. All right. So we talked about the NVIDIA miners cards. PC versus Mac. I do have a footnote in here, kind of a little off topic, but if any of you guys are like DC fans, apparently the Snyder Cut's really good. I've been hearing a lot of good things. It's just really long, and I don't have HBO Max. I think I can get the free trial of HBO Max and like watch it, but apparently the Snyder Cut was actually a good film, and DC screwed it over when they released the original Justice League, which is kind of sad because it means that there was actual direction. I know Martian Manhunter makes an appearance in the end of the film, so that wasn't a part of the original version at all. And so it seems that sadly, like DC kind of got like screwed by the executives on this one. Thermal throttling. Ooh, that's a new driver has thermal throttling. Interesting that you're saying that the driver was thermal throttling. The only reason I said that that's interesting is because technically speaking, when it comes to thermal throttling, that would actually be more related to your cooler than anything else. So, I mean, you could always try to lower the voltage on that one, by the way. I think it's Wattman. You can try to undervolt your processor a little bit, or even in the AMD drivers, and then you should be able to get it to the point that won't thermal throttle anymore if you go low enough. Okay, so yeah, I guess that tangent's over. We talked about the mining cards. So something a little interesting that I actually recently came across. So Microsoft is denying that they're going to be doing anything VR related. I highly doubt it. They have HoloLens. They're probably going to be doing it soon. But PlayStation actually, they've come out and were like, hey, look at our new controller. So PlayStation now has a new PlayStation VR controller that looks more related to the Oculus controllers than anything else. They don't look stupid anymore with the stupid glowing balls on them. It looks like they're going to be tracking with a more traditional tracking method. So got these right here, actually. This right here is an Oculus Rift S controller. You'll notice that there's no lights, nothing glowing on it whatsoever. That's because this ring right here actually has infrared lights on it that the headset can pick up on. And it looks like the PlayStation VR controller is going to be doing much of the same on it, which is a good thing because this kind of tracking is just nicer. It's less annoying to look at, and more importantly, means that they're not reusing iToys for controller because they couldn't sell them when they tried to copy the Wii. And stack against them. Okay. Oh, actually, speaking of Microsoft, I almost completely forgot about this one. Bethesda's acquisition by Microsoft is complete. So Bethesda has been bought out by Microsoft. Specifically, their publisher, ZeniMax, was bought out by Microsoft. This means that all future Bethesda games are Xbox and PC exclusive. Now, they did dance around this a little bit, but after the acquisition was finalized, it had come out that the only games that are coming out on the PlayStation platform are any game that has already been committed to the platform, and any future games such as Starfield will be Xbox exclusive, Xbox and PC. And specifically, their wording is anywhere that Game Pass can be purchased. So that's interesting to me because I mean, Bethesda games have always been sort of like that, like outside of like first party games are like the big games. I don't know of anybody who hasn't played Skyrim or Fallout 4, for that matter, or Fallout 3, any of these big Bethesda games. So Microsoft making this acquisition is a big deal. More importantly, the fact that it's still coming to PC is a good thing. I personally like play all of my games on PC. It sounds like so gaming cards. Oh, well, actually, to I'm gonna put a pin in what I was saying. To answer your question, there are mining specific cards. They exist. The problem is they're often more expensive than gaming cards. AMD has CDNA cards, which are compute type cards, which are mining specific or compute application specific, which are good for mining, as opposed to RDNA, which are gaming specific cards. And NVIDIA actually just released a mining card that unfortunately is retailing for like $2,000 and is worse than any of the gaming cards you can buy right now. So like the miners aren't really incentivized to use them. And mining specific GPUs did exist back when the mining boom first happened. But again, they're harder to get a hold of. They're not usually as good and they are more expensive. So they exist, but they exist in this sort of like weird bubble that is never truly addressed properly. I do think like if mining cards were available and easy to get a hold of and about the same price, we would see miners, or even less. Like because they don't have video outputs, like make them less, make them more affordable, and watch how the miners will eventually go away from gaming GPUs if you do that. But they don't do that. They don't think that way because they're thinking, mining, I'm going to cash out. And that's kind of like where NVIDIA stands on this whole thing. Okay, going back to Bethesda's acquisition. I don't know. It's one of those things that I just find interesting. I find it fascinating, but I also am like not really concerned because like Sony isn't gonna get like any more Bethesda games, which is weird, but I mean, it doesn't really make that much of a difference to me personally. That being said, as weird as it sounds, Bethesda was one of the biggest supporters of PlayStation VR when it came out. In fact, actually, Fallout VR and Skyrim VR were both PlayStation exclusives at launch and have only recently made their way onto Steam, and have not made it to the Oculus platform because apparently Bethesda had a lot of their technology stolen by Oculus. So it's one of those situations where those two companies won't be working together. So it's very interesting to see that Bethesda made strides in VR that are going to effectively go nowhere unless Microsoft intends to actually make a VR headset, like I'm assuming they probably really are. Okay. So that's all of that. Let's move into a couple of other small things. So Snecky, the unofficial the unofficial like secondary mascot here. I did a video that was a serious video about this plushie, and you guys seem to like it. I liked making it. And so when I saw that this pillow was being announced and released, I was like, oh, I'm going to do a video on this one too. I didn't expect Razer to get it to me like so bloody fast, to be completely honest. But I got it and I started recording the video, and then I was like, I can't really finish this one as fast as this thank you video because it's more complicated, right? Like, does it work on all chairs? Well, this is a Secret Lab Titan. It seems to be working just fine. So like, is it comfortable? I mean, it wasn't at first. There's a lot more to this one than there was to the plushie. But this is out, and apparently Razer's launching more Snecky products for every goal met, which makes me kind of worried because I've already committed to this, that I'm going to end up buying like a stupid amount of Snecky products. And they're just going to be everywhere, all over my desk, which I don't have that much room. All right. I want Myers to buy gaming GPUs to afford my GTX because some of the miner boom. Yes. Um. So yes, that is something that did actually happen. Like after the mining boom, a large amount of used GPUs hit the market. And they were like lightly used GPUs because mining, as weird as it sounds, even though it's hitting with like a lot of compute like instructions over and over again, it is actually less dangerous to the cards because a lot of them were undervolting to save on power cost and to keep the GPU running. And the other thing that they were doing was they're hitting it with consistent load, which is better than hitting it with varying loads, which gaming actually does. And also, GPUs rarely die. I think I have one dead GPU. Actually, no, I got two. They're right over here. I actually have them. Just borrow these really quickly. This is just a cooler. These are two actually dead GPUs that were killed through natural use. This one might not actually be dead. It might just have a dead fan. I haven't really been willing to try to take this apart. This is a RX 7800. And this one is oh wait, no, that was an R700. It's not even RX. And this one's an R6850. This one actually did die from use. This one's horrible. I'll actually like bring it up a little bit closer for you guys to see. This one was salvaged out of a PC, and I actually only grabbed it because it was like the 6 series. I have the 7 series, and I have an 8 series as well. 5 series. I have one, like I have them all the way back to a certain extent, but these two are dead, like very dead. And those were from normal use. It took like, how old is this GPU? This GPU is over 10 years old. This one would have been at least 11 or 12. Like 12 years of use is a lot of use. And these are old. Like I'm sure it was like leaky capacitors or something else that like actually killed them. So in all seriousness, like when it comes down to it, like it's only irritating now. Like the mining craze is irritating now because it's like, it's on top of a supply shortage. But at the same time, like a lot of these GPUs will be hitting the secondary market like for dirt cheap. And whether or not you're willing to buy secondary is up to you. Personally, I don't buy in the secondary market, but I don't buy into the secondary market because I water cool and I build like my systems are very much like I pick every part to the system before I start the build because I plan my builds out that way. And that's one of the reasons why I can't really build used PCs. That being said, like I can understand why some people are heavily against mining. I know some people are using like nice hash right now. There was that whole controversy with Linus promoting that and like everybody flipping out. But I know a couple people who have literally been like, yeah, I'm like making like a little bit of money off the side on my normal rig. Mine, I can't dedicate to any of that right now because rendering is just as bad as mining on a GPU. Rendering video, like it takes forever, to be completely honest, even on a 5700 XT. So, yeah, I guess that's an interesting dilemma though. Like, is mining over time better for like PC gaming? I mean, it puts money into the system and that money does get used in research and development. So yeah, that is a good question. Okay, Razer does have another mysterious thing coming out on the 25th. I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that it's a new Razer Siren. It's been a while since they've released a new high-end Siren. They've done like the small ones. I actually was trying originally to get mine to work, which is attached to a tripod over here. I actually have one of the original Razer Sirens. I was having issues getting it to work properly, so I decided not to use it today until I can figure that out. But the trailer's literally like nothing but like a feather. It's like, hear the difference. And it's either headphones, which they release all the time, or a siren, which they don't normally release. The last thing they released is a low light webcam that got pretty good reviews, but it's like, hey, it's super expensive. And I did call it on Slice of Pie before that is what it is, that it was going to be a webcam or a camera lens. I like came up with a couple different things. Either way, it actually the actual webcam is very similar to this lens on this camera in size. So like I'm assuming the quality and everything would look kind of similar, minus this one's running through an Elgato Cam Link and being compressed like all hell because apparently my bitrate wants to go down randomly. So that is that. They also launched some smart glasses. The smart glasses are essentially they're like the Bose ones, same price as the Bose ones. I haven't heard them yet, so can't tell you if they sound the same. I do want to try them out. They have a blue light lens and a actual UV lens, which is for going outside. So sunglass type lenses, and apparently the lenses are interchangeable. So that is fairly interesting from my perspective, just because those are kind of cool. I've tried them on in the store before. I thought that they were very interesting, the actual Bose ones. And my issue actually comes down to this phone. I did a number to my Razer phone, to be completely honest. Right now, like there's this huge crack, like right there. Right now, I've got like a gift card with like a sticker on it to make it not look so weird, to cover up the crack. But the Bluetooth receiver is not doing too great on this one as of late. Cuts out pretty regularly. So even like one of my favorites is I actually have the like Razer looking earpod things, AirPods, I should say. And I haven't been using them because I cannot like get Bluetooth to stay connected unless it's like all the way up here. Like, so if I'm wearing a shirt with like a pocket up here, I can put my phone there, but it loses connectivity in my own pants, which is kind of dumb for that kind of thing. So like I'm not likely to try something that's not wired for a little while just because of that. So yeah. All right. So I think that is all of our topics for the week for Slice of Pie. This was certainly a learning experience doing this live. I think next time I'm going to try and get some sort of an overlay system. Maybe I'll actually hook up my Stream Deck. Oh, the Razer Smart Mask. Yes. If it actually comes out, the answer is yes. As stupid as it sounds, I want it specifically for my job. Because I have no joke, like, let me see, within arm's reach, how many of these masks do I have? I got one here. I think I got one in my back pocket. Yeah, I got one in my back pocket. There's like another couple over there. I would love to have a single mask that I just throw in a UV cleaning case and don't worry about it. Like, honestly, as weird as it sounds, and I'm sure it's going to be expensive, I would totally buy it for that exact reason. So yeah. Okay. Back on track a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty much all the topics I've got. Honestly, thank you all for joining me today on this little stream, this little experiment. We went live a second ago with like no audio. Personally, like I've learned a lot from this so far. Like one of them is I need to come up with a more permanent solution for like everything I've got up here. Like right now, it behind the computer screen, it looks horrible. Also, I should probably do something with like this back over here. I've got no shortage of lights that I can put back there to add some color. And yeah, honestly, like probably I would normally stream around like 6 o'clock, but I kind of knew this would be a bit of a train wreck. And I figured might as well put the train wreck out at an earlier time, so less people will see me flounder around and try to figure it all out. Oh, but thank you all so much for watching. If you're watching this after the stream, thank you for watching there too. I really appreciate every single one of you guys. And yeah, I will definitely do this again, and hopefully will be a lot more prepared than I was this time. Because yeah, it's not bad, but it wasn't great either. I think I can do better. I know I can do better. But yeah. So thank you guys again. Wolfie out.